Hey there, welcome back to our personal growth zone. Today, we have some news that could potentially affect the financial future of millions of Americans. According to a recent survey conducted by the Wall Street Journal, the vast majority of economists at 23 large financial institutions are predicting that the United States will fall into the grips of a recession in 2023, resulting in millions of Americans losing their jobs. So, what exactly does this mean for the average person, and why are these economists so concerned? As the report indicates, more than two-thirds of the surveyed institutions, including trading firms and investment banks that do business directly with the Federal Reserve, expect the U.S. economy to contract in 2023. Two of the firms expect the recession to come later in 2024, while only 5 predict that the U.S. will avoid a downturn altogether. The economists that predict a coming recession expect consumer spending to weaken as Americans deplete their savings, and an aggressive Fed drives up borrowing costs. This, in turn, causes banks' lending standards to get tighter. The report also notes that soaring U.S. inflation has forced the Fed to raise rates at its fastest pace since the 1980s to relieve price pressures. The aggressive rate increases have so far had only a limited effect, and November's CPI data showed inflation running at 7.1%. But what's even more concerning is an alternative measure of inflation that uses the same methodology as the U.S. government used to measure CPI in the 1980s. It puts November's inflation figure at a much higher 15.23%, which is almost double what the official CPI figures show. So, what does this all mean for the future of the U.S. economy? Well, despite inflation easing somewhat from its June peak, it's far from enough for the Fed to hit the brakes on interest rates. Inflation in the United States, as measured by the CPI, soared from a pandemic-era low of 0.24% in May 2020 to a recent peak of 9% in June 2022. Moreover, central banks across the world have hiked interest rates in a bid to cool demand and relieve price pressures, raising the risk of a recession. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, stated in its latest biannual global economic outlook that it expected inflation to peak in late 2022 but warned that it would remain elevated for longer than previously expected. Here are some general financial measures that U.S. citizens may consider taking to prepare for potential economic challenges. Build an emergency fund. With the possibility of a recession and potential job losses, it's important to have a financial cushion to fall back on. Aim to save at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses in an easily accessible account. Pay off high-interest debt. With the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, borrowing costs are likely to increase, making it more expensive to carry high-interest debt. Consider paying off credit card balances or other loans with high interest rates. Diversify investments. While some financial institutions predict a recession, others believe the U.S. economy will avoid a downturn. It's important to have a diversified investment portfolio that includes a mix of stocks, bonds, and other assets to help weather potential market volatility. Review retirement savings. Economic downturns can have a significant impact on retirement savings, so it's important to review your retirement accounts and consider adjusting your investment strategy as needed. Budget and live within your means. With potential economic challenges ahead, it's important to live within your means and avoid taking on too much debt. Creating a budget and tracking expenses can help ensure you're living within your means and saving for future goals. Concluding our video. The IMF stated in its report that, despite projections for lower inflation overall in 2023, it expects more economic pain. More than a third of the global economy will contract this year or next, while the 3 largest economies, the United States, the European Union, and China, will continue to stall, the IMF report reads. In short, the worst is yet to come, and for many people, 2023 will feel like a recession.